Welcome back. The National Institute for Crime Prevention and the Rehabilitation of Offenders is supporting the incoming law taking a zero-tolerance approach to drunk driving. NICRA has developed information workshops and evaluating tools to help rehabilitate addicts. Earlier this week, Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula announced that SA should have a zero-alcohol driving limit by December. So to talk more on this, NICRA Director Betsy Pierce joins us now for more details. Betsy, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. I mean, zero tolerance on alcohol, especially for drunk driving. One may say that it has come at a much needed time, especially with what we've witnessed under the different levels of lockdown during this COVID-19 pandemic.
No, that's correct. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I just want to say, before the lockdown, we saw that the deaths due to drunken driving was 58% of all fatalities. And this is a huge impact on South Africa. So we really welcome the zero blood alcohol concentration because we do believe that is one of the ways that we can combat this scourge on our roads. But that will not be all. We also need to make sure that people are educated and that we change attitudes and that people start taking responsibility for their driving behaviour and start looking at law enforcement in a positive light. But that also includes law enforcement to be much more visible on our roads if we want to make a big impact on the death rates currently.
I mean, here, Betsy, we're speaking about the behaviour of motorists, right, and the behaviour of South Africans in general. I mean, do they understand the impact of driving under the influence and the impact that it actually has on their lives and the lives of others? It speaks of a much bigger issue around the need for us to change behaviours and maybe even look at insights into how as South Africans can look at themselves, especially when it comes to their relationship with alcohol.
No, that's correct. We have recently done a longitudinal research study on our road offences program, and we found that not only are we meeting the aims of this program, which we wanted, or the aims of the program is to make sure that we don't have people that drink and drive, and that they understand, as you said just now, they understand the causes, they understand the implications on their lives as well as others should they drive under the influence. But we've seen that the impact was reached much further than the aims. It also impacted on the relationships of the person within his home. It impacted on general drinking behaviour, not just not drinking and driving. It had very positive impact on people's work environment and their responsibility towards their families, towards work. So we saw a far-reaching effect with this program. And recently we have redesigned the program so that we can not only offer it for road offenders, but also to use it as a preventative measure, so that we can educate all road users, so that they know that they have more information around this. Because we realized when we had our participants in our groups that they had no idea of the effect of alcohol on their driving abilities, because they believe that it doesn't affect their driving abilities, and that they believe that they know when to stop. But we could prove to them that the only safe driving would be with no alcohol in your blood.
Yeah. When you speak about the need to educate people more and more, one would say that then after the education, why do we always find chance takers, Betsy?
You'll get that everywhere. People, you'll get it everywhere. If we involve people in a behaviour modification program, we make sure that we give them information, because when we give them information and they see what the facts are and what the myths are, they can then start deciding for themselves and starting to change their thinking. And only when they start changing their thinking, they will start changing their behaviour. and then the attitudes will start changing as well when they start taking responsibility for their behaviour. So if you always have people who take chances, unless you can get them to change their behaviour. And as long as you don't include them into behaviour modification programs, there's not much that will change. People don't change their behaviour just because of a fine or a penalty. That will contribute to them to change their behaviour, but that is not that they need the information. They need to be able to change their attitudes.
I have to ask you this. I mean, you've worked countless times with individuals that are either in addiction or individuals that are in alcohol or any form of addiction, substance abuse, right? What have you found to be the reason why people change their behavior? What is that catalyst that causes an individual who thinks one way to all of a sudden think a different way, who behaves in one way to all of a sudden behave in another way? What causes that light to flicker?
Okay, just to quickly set it right, we do not work with people who have alcohol and drug addictions. We work with people who are at lower levels of abuse. When they've got addictions, we will refer them to a specialist organisation. We'll work with their addictions, and once they have completed that, they will be sent back to us, and we will involve them in behaviour modification programs or any other developmental programs. But what makes people change is there must be a bigger payoff for not repeating that behaviour, not continuing with that behaviour, than there would be while continuing that behaviour. So you need to get to that place where there's many more pluses than minuses, and then people will start changing their behaviour.
So it's almost like a reward system. And in that case then, Betsy, in the South African context, what possible reward can be put in place to ensure that people do not drive under the influence, and that should that zero tolerance policy be put up in December, that they actually adhere to it? What's the right reward in this context?
Safer roads, and that is something we really need to sell, because if you've got safe roads, the personal safety of people are very important, as well as their families. I also think if you start showing what the causes could be, and you start talking about people who's personally gone through something like this, the payoff there is greater. So we need to get out in the communities, and we need to start giving the information and start talking to people, and having people speak up who went through these processes, and who can now go back and they've dealt with everything going on in their lives, and they're constructively contributing to society again. And if we get those people to go and talk about the impact, it's a huge. It really helps. It's a huge influence when people hear what could have happened or what happened to somebody else, and they can change the behaviour in seeing what happened to somebody else.
Betsy Pierce, we have to leave it there for this evening. Thanks a lot for joining us. That is NICRA Director Betsy Pierce giving us the latest there as they weigh in their support behind that zero tolerance for driving under the influence. But